All right, ladies, I have a super special guest coming in hot today. Melissa Ricker, near and dear to my heart. I have known her since before she became famous. She also was a mentor of mine and has literally come and been a speaker at many of my events because she, I feel, is the epitome of who you want to listen to when you're wondering like how to build a real business. So, Melissa, do you want to introduce yourself and then we'll jump in?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here again, chatting with you. I love being here with you. So my name is Melissa Ricker. So I am, I guess nuclear engineer turned seven-figure funnel strategist, and I have been doing this now for a little bit of time. For a little bit, I was trying to think. Since about 2019, 2020, I've been in the world of marketing, specifically around funnels, automation, and now bringing some AI into the mix, and have generated about $10 million online in that time. Learned a lot, lots of ups and downs, which I'm sure we'll get into today. And yeah.
Okay, well, the first thing that I want to ask is what is the difference between the Melissa that was running for the first six-figure year and the Melissa now?
Oh goodness, there's a lot of differences. I think that the biggest one is that, I have just learned that everything is just it's like a wave, right? And it's like if you just have to learn to ride the wave. And so after you've been in this for a while, you learn to do that. And like so it's like you learn something hard happens and you're like, okay, what's the lesson? And then how do I fix it so it never happens to me again? Knowing that
Yeah.
there's still going to be another wave, like there's still going to be another thing, but like I think that's my biggest mindset shift is like when bad things happen or when things don't go my way, it's like how can I learn from it? What's the lesson here? And then how can I fix it so it doesn't have to happen again?
Hmm. So, okay, let's talk about what it's like to build an incredibly successful business as a mom.
Oh, well, it is very challenging. And I think I've been on some really hard times of it, right? So I left the whole reason I started this business was I wanted to homeschool my kids. I didn't want to send them just to daycare when they were little. And so I left this corporate job where I was working. I mean, I was working a lot, more than 40 hours a week for sure. I was on call all the time. And so the whole reason I left is for this freedom, right? And then, it was really hard at the beginning. And I ended up, when I first got very successful, that first year that I hit my first seven figures, I found myself in a place where I was working way more than I ever did in corporate. I was managing a team. Even when I wasn't working, my mind was always there.
Yeah.
And I realized that like we have to keep that in mind when we're building these businesses is that we're building them for a reason. And it's so easy to fall into this trap where you're working around the clock, you're always on call, you've got your cell phone there. and and so yeah, I found myself in this place where it's like I was no more present. I was for sure I was less present with my kids than I was even when I was in the corporate space. And so it was like a huge slap in the face. It was like, what are you doing?
Hmm.
What are you doing? Is this business that you're building like worth what you're sacrificing for it? And so I think as we all build it, we have to keep that in mind because, these big revenue numbers, all this stuff, it's like it has to make sense for the lifestyle or it's all going to fall apart, which it
Hmm.
almost did for me several times.
Yeah. Okay, so what did you decide?
Yeah, so I shipped about 2.5 years ago, I guess 2.5, something like that. I was like, okay, if I'm gonna successfully homeschool my kids and get them to their baseball and help them and build the life that I actually wanted, like something in my business has to shift so that it doesn't always have to be Melissa. So for a
Yeah.
long time in my business, the only way I made money is if I was there. And the only way my clients were successful is if I was there. And the only person that could answer emails and deal with people was if I was there. And I was like, what is the point of this? Like I have a team, I have, this stuff in like I'm paying for all this stuff. Why does it always have to be me? And so that was the big lesson learned is like, how can I help my business run with less of Melissa? And it required a lot of shifting. We shifted our offers a little bit. We shifted our processes. We had to slow down a lot. So we actually shut down certain offers. I let go of a bunch of my team, and I was like, how can we make this simpler so that I can, work which my big goal was 20 hours a week. How can
Hmm.
we get this business to where I work my 20 hours a week and then I don't have to show up. I don't have to stress. I don't have to be checking my phone in the middle of the night. And it was definitely a process, and it was painful at times. But that's the difference in my business now is I work 15 to 20 hours a week. And other than that, my phone's off. Like I'm not stressed like I used to be.
Yeah. Well, and what you said before we jump on the call, you're like, I'm in a baseball mom era. Like, that's where I live all the time. Practice, games, tournaments, whatever.
Yes, and I don't want to be on my phone. I want to be watching the game. I don't want to be thinking about my clients or my team or whatever.
Hmm.
I want to be present. And so, it took a lot of discipline. It took a lot of, some like there were months that I didn't take a paycheck so that I could, put into like figuring this out. And that's one of my biggest things that I would tell people that are, starting to get those multiple six figures is to watch your time, watch your energy, watch your life, watch your relationships, and make sure that those are first priority and the business comes second.
So if somebody is sitting here being like, okay, I know that I've got a seven-figure business in me. It's my destiny. I know it. I can feel it in my core. Like, what's your top three pieces of just like quick and dirty advice for somebody that's like figuring out how to create an offer that's scalable? Because you're like a master at this.
Yeah, so first of all, seven figures sounds great, right? Forget top line revenue. Forget it. Like it doesn't matter. There was a time in my business where we were multiple seven figures and I still didn't have a good page. I was the lowest paid person on my team, right? So I could care less about seven figure. I could care less about top line revenue, flip it and obsess about profit. Obsess about the paycheck that you can pay yourself. The top line revenue will come with that, but top line revenue, and there's a lot of people out there that are seven figures, eight figures, and they have no profit. So it doesn't make sense to spend seven figures to make seven figures.
Yeah, yeah. I think that just brings up another. I mean, you sit in like huge rooms at a different level than most people have access to. And one thing that I've heard come up so much lately is just like this idea that the marketing is pumping out these promises to these people. And then what's happening behind closed doors, like you just said, it could be top line revenue that they're talking about, not actual profit. So, like, how do you actually navigate that in your own marketing to be like an example?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like we've had so many success stories where six, seven figure businesses, we help them build that. But I have really shifted my messaging and my marketing because it's not even if that's what it sounds great, right? But like in reality, if you can make your marketing message, what I'm trying to say, like what people really want, because the seven figures, like da 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 da, like what they really want is the ability to pay themselves well, have a six-figure paycheck, right?
Hmm.
And so I think what we ended up doing, and it was an evolution because I fell into the same thing where I was like, come build a seven-figure business. I'm going to show you how to do it. And that's not possible for everyone. It's not what everyone wants, really. And some people, it absolutely like the thought of running a team and doing all the things like, so what we shifted our messaging into was a promise that we knew we could fulfill, which is let us help you create the offer that you can then decide where you take it, right? But like we help you build the business, the offer, the marketing, the systems, the structure, the automations, so that you can build the life that you want and the paycheck that you want. And that's the message that after being in it for a while, you don't really respond to all that gimmicks anyways, because you've already kind of been through the ringer.
Yeah.
So like I feel like the people that are still doing that kind of marketing message is like they're still going to attract people that haven't been through it yet. If you want to attract like people who've been in it and like are actually going to stick and succeed, like you got to have the real message. And it goes the same with everything, even like, weight loss. You see people like with these big claims of weight loss, people who have struggled with weight loss, they're not going to respond to that gimmicky stuff anyway because they know it's not. You know,
Hmm.
they've been on the other side of it. They've been kind of through some of it. So
Yeah.
I think if you, no matter what niche you're in, if like we don't have to make these big, bold, crazy promises. Like what we have to uncover is what people really want, and
For
it's
me,
not
that's always
understated.
for me, that's always been like freedom is not just money, right? I think a lot of us were already successful money-wise in our careers, and that's not why we left. It's like we wanted fulfillment and we want flexibility to be able to like you're always at the ball diamonds, I'm always at the hockey rink. It's just the way it is. And we also just like really truly want to make an impact, but we want to get paid really well to do something that lights us up.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's like, I feel like sometimes we feel compelled or we feel pressured to make these big, and I'm a fan of bold promises, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I am bold messaging, but like, if you want to attract a higher level clientele, which I think we all do, it's like they don't need all that gimmicky stuff. Like they want to hear what's real and what's true, and that's what they're going to be attracted to anyways.
So true. I've got kids fighting around me. This is ambitious mom life. They're like literally going back and forth in the background. I'm like,
Yes.
be quiet, I'm on a call.
I'm telling you, I've got my kids are right here too. They're right outside the door. I
Yeah.
can't the door.
There you go.
They're right there.
If my door's closed, please do not knock on it 57 times. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the failures on the way up because I think this is part of the conversation that I love to hear and that other women love hearing because we're under the assumption based on bold claims sometimes that there has been no rocky roads on the way. And like you already talked about what it felt like to be successful and now you got a new problem because you're way too overloaded, but like what about before that? Like what did the it wasn't a straight line. I know that you've told me about this
No.
lots of times. So yeah, tell me about like
Mentioned something already about being in the room with like higher level people, and when in the masterminds and the things that I join, I pay a lot of money to be in that room. It's usually not for the person running it. It's so that I hear the truth, right? And there was a time like when my business on paper looked amazing and my reality was awful. It was awful. Like I did not like it was just awful. And I felt so isolated and so alone because I felt like I was the only one going through that. And that everyone else had these beautiful businesses and picture perfect Instagrams. And then when you get in the room with those people, it's like there's so many tears, there's laughing, there's horror stories of clients, right?
yeah.
And refunds and chargebacks and all these things. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not alone.
Mhm.
Like, and but nobody talks about that, right? It's like nobody talks about that. Nobody puts that on Instagram. And so when you're going through it, a lot of times you feel like you're the only one that like you feel like a failure and then you can't show up on social media and talk about it, so it's
No.
like I feel like you have to have people that are willing to tell you that. And that's why, I tell a lot of these stories because I remember how it felt like to feel like I was the only one. And
I think
I've seen so many 7-figure, 8-figure businesses, more than I can count on my hands, that have shut the doors because of all of the things that it takes to run this business, and they didn't know how to navigate it. They didn't know who to talk to about it. They didn't know that it was happening to anyone else, and so the power of understanding that it's never going to be a straight line. We deal with a lot less than we used to because we've just learned a lot of lessons, but we still have angry clients. We still have, like it's never going to be a straight line. And every time you go up to another level, you're gonna have to deal with another level of the crap, right? And just understanding that that's part of it, I think helps us move through it. And so that's what I'm saying. Like we laugh about it, and like I'll tell my team, like we'll have an issue come up and I'm like, oh, what's the lesson learned here? Like what are we going to do about it? But we don't let it like blow us down anymore because now I just know I have this deeper understanding of like it's not going to be perfect, there's going to be problems. If this was the easy path, everyone would do it, right? Nobody would be working for someone else if it was easy. So
yeah.
I think just having that level of understanding, um just to keep putting one foot in front of the other, is the only reason that I'm still here today. Because I've wanted to shut my doors many, many times, right? But now I just know it's like, oh, it's okay. Like it's gonna be okay.
Do you feel like that's the difference between most people who stay stuck under six or even stuck under multiple six? Like, is it the way that they handle like the failures, quote unquote
Yeah,
failures?
I would say 100%, 100%. We have clients right now who, they've hit their first six figures, and there's like they come up and they're just there's a block, right? And it's like it's almost like a fear. Some of them haven't even gone through some of, but it's like there's a fear of what's going to happen when, or I don't know if I can handle it, or the one I hear a lot. It's so hard, right?
Yeah.
It's so hard. And then, you know, AI is the big thing right now, but like last year it was something else, and the year before it was something else. And so like it's like we let these things scare us. It's like, well, I can't scale because AI is taking over anyway. Nobody's gonna hire me because they could go talk to Chat GPT. And so like whatever that thing is, we let it block us because it's almost like we're afraid to push through it or move through it. And then we stay stuck, or even worse, we go backwards.
Mhm. What's your opinion about AI and how it's going to affect the coaching industry or how you already see it play out?
Oh, I mean, I think the way I view it, and I love AI, so I'm not, I mean,
I knew you would.
but I definitely have seen, right? And I'm not saying this to brag about it, but at all, because I see both sides, but like I've used AI to cut down the number of people on my team, right? And so I definitely do see that AI is impacting us, but I feel like it's an enhancement. It is like all it has allowed me to step away from my business a lot more than, a year ago, 2 years ago. We have AI that helps our clients get through some of these issues or misunderstandings. We have AI that helps, we have AI tech support, you know. And so I love it, but I don't think we should be afraid of it. And I mean, I've just been alive long enough to know that there's a pendulum, right? And so right now the pendulum is hard to the right, but it will swing back. It will go the other way, and then it'll find a place in the middle. And that's just the way with everything, like Facebook ads, this and that, like it's just another thing.
I remember when Facebook ads were working so well for so many people, and then there was like a year where everybody's business kind of ground to a halt, right? Yeah, I know. But then you like dug yourself back out of that because that's what entrepreneurs do. They figure it
Yeah,
out.
it's like it's always going to be something, and so no matter what it is, I saw a bunch of people talking about Facebook ads yesterday. It's like, oh my gosh, my ads are doing awful now because it's summer, so I have to stop selling everything because it's summer, and it's like there's always going to be something. So it's just like if you can just okay, how do we solve this, or how do we move forward, or how do we just keep it going until we figure it out? And I think
There's always people buying in the summer.
there's people buying all the time, and there's
Yeah.
going to be ebbs and flows, and that's just how it works.
Hmm.
But it's like, again, just keep going. Like, don't let that silly stuff hold you back.
Hmm.
And it might not, and I'm not saying that because in the moment I know it doesn't
Yeah,
feel,
it feels heavy.
it feels very heavy, but like if you realize you get on the other side of it, you look back, like some of the hardest things I went through, I look back and I'm like, that was silly, right? And one of my mentors, and I know she didn't create this saying, but she always would remind me, she like, Melissa, is this going to bother you 5 years from now? I'm like, no. Then why are you letting it ruin your life today?
Yeah. We need those little sayings though. My dad always his classic. He's old, like he's 88 now, but he's always like the sun's coming up tomorrow and it doesn't give a shit, so you might as well get on with it. Like that's been his philosophy his whole life. He came from nothing and he built his way up, and he just, he went bankrupt a couple times in business. Like just shit happens, and he's just like it doesn't matter. Get on with it. And so all of my brothers and I, like we all have the same philosophy, and we'll repeat it to each other sometimes in conversation, but I think you need like a little mantra or whatever like
You
that
do.
to
You
get you through
do.
stuff.
Because some days are hard, some months are hard, some years
Yeah.
are going to be
Yeah.
hard.
Hmm.
But if you stop, that's as far as you ever go.
Yeah. That would be the worst, is to stop and never know what you could have accomplished.
Oh, but I've seen it. Like I've seen so many people, like, they'll go back to their corporate job, and I'm not saying that's necessarily the wrong decision, but I just, like, I know that they tapped out too early.
Hmm. Yeah. I think we all face these tug of wars too between this dream and this thing that's in our heart or in our soul that we really want to bring to life, but then having everyone around us in our quote unquote real life saying like, why are you doing this? This hasn't given you what you thought it was going to give you by now, you know?
And I think too, and this will speak to a lot of your audience as well as my audience, is like a lot of us were successful at,
Hmm.
like very successful at something. And so I think there's, I felt guilty to this. Where there's this level of expectation, like, oh, I'm really smart, I'm really good at these things. Of course I can do this, and of course it's going to be fast. But we forget, we went to college for I went to college for 6 years, to get my master's degree. And it's like, no one expected me to solve the differential equations and, all this stuff on day one. It's like we went to school for years
Yeah.
to learn those skills, to perfect those skills, to test those skills. And then we went out, right? And so it's like sometimes we lose sight of this is a different skill set. And so
Yeah.
we can apply a lot of what we learned and what we went through, but like we have to give ourselves the space and compassion to go back and learn the skills that are now required to do this thing that's completely different.
I think that's also a really good thing to talk about for anybody who, like you said, most of our kind of audience, both of us have this like successful corporate or successful career in the past. And then it almost adds like this crazy amount of pressure when you step into something new because you're like, yeah, I should be able to figure this out. I should be further along by now, blah, blah, blah. And one of my favorite things you said in a different interview was like, nobody saw me crying on the floor when I couldn't figure it out yet. Like nobody sees that side of entrepreneurship, but everybody expects like that they're the only ones sitting on their kitchen floor crying their eyes out because they haven't been able to figure this out. But the only way that you lose is if you stop fighting.
It is. And I'm like, people ask me like, well, how'd you do it? And I'm like, literally I am nothing special. The only reason I was made it through to the other side is because I didn't stop.
Hmm.
I mean, that's literally it. It's like if
Yeah.
you don't stop, you keep going. And there might be times you slip and you fall or whatever, you cry on the floor, you know.
Yeah, you do.
But as long as
Sometimes
you
it happens.
get back up and you keep going, like you're gonna make it to the other side because 99% of people won't.
What did you think back then? Put yourself back in the shoes. Did you ever know how this was all going to happen? Like, I think you knew that you had this potential, this crazy ability to make this huge business a reality, but like, did you ever know the how the whole way?
Yeah, I never knew the how. I
Exactly. I
remember
love that.
I remember telling my husband, I laugh about it all the time, but I had built, like, I had a multi six-figure paycheck in corporate, right? And
Yeah.
we had built our life, both of us were in that. And so we had the houses, the cars, everyone thought I was crazy. But I remember telling my husband, give me 3 months. I told him 3 months. And he believed me. I believed me. I really did. I believed.
Yeah.
And then I come home, and, I left my job and I sit in front of the computer and I'm like opening up Google, how to make money from home
Yeah, exactly.
with babies,
With
you know.
babies. Yeah.
And, um, and it's so funny being on the other side. But yeah, it's hard, especially for those of us who have been successful and we're choosing to walk away from it or we're doing it on the side. And it's like, I remember not even knowing myself anymore. I was like, who is this person who is failing for the first, it felt like the first time, right? It felt that, of course, I'd failed in the past, but like, when you fail in school and when you fail when you're young, it's like it's different.
Hmm.
Now there's like this level of expectation. And I remember I quit posting on social media. I quit leaving my house. I quit talking to my friends and family because I didn't want anyone to ask, like, how's it going?
Yeah. We were just ashamed.
I was, and
Yeah.
I didn't realize how wrapped up my identity was in being successful. And then I didn't understand even the definition of successful. What success is to me now is not seven figures. It is not scale. It is not, do people know me in my space? Like, it's none of that. It's like, am I happy? Am I paying myself well? And, am I spending the time and doing the energy with my kids, which is the whole reason I did this to begin with. Like,
Mhm.
so I think if I could install that back in my brain years ago, maybe my journey would have been quicker, easier. I don't know. Or maybe I just had to go through it. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But I tell that story because if I could shorten that path for anyone else, even by a couple months or a year or whatever, like I want to do that because it was hard going through that by myself and I felt very alone.
Yeah. I think that's super common, but I think that's why we have these types of conversations that we can put out into the world because somebody needs to hear it, right?
Yeah, and if it's good to see all these, it's good to see successful people on social media. It's good to see that, right? Because then we can see it is possible. But just remember, behind every seven figure, there's a whole what are they a skeleton closet of skeleton whatever a
A closet
whole,
of skeletons.
and they might not say it, but it's there. And so
Hmm.
just remember that when you're seeing them, it's like they've been through a lot to get there.
Yeah.
They might talk about how easy it was, but it was not. Don't
No.
believe it.
Okay. Where do you want everyone to come and find you? I'll drop it in the below the video.
Yeah, so I do have a pretty cool free gift for everyone. A big part, and it sounds crazy. It's gonna sound crazy, but I teach 5 core funnels, and I'm obsessed with, putting our, again, there's always going to be a place for us to be in our business and to show up live and to be human and all that. But I'm obsessed with that only being one funnel. And the rest of it can get automated. And so it's a whole long story. I won't get into it, but setting my automating my front end lead generation and having a way to segment and qualify our audience. We did that through, a quiz funnel.
Hmm.
And we have, so the, for all of our clients, one of the first things we do is we set up, some sort of automated quiz diagnostic type funnel in their business, because that can bring in like it was magical for my business. It dropped my cost per lead on ads. It increased my show up rates, and every time we open up our CRM, we can see who our most qualified leads are. So
Cool.
I do have a free gift for everyone to just kind of figure, like, it's an AI, of course it's AI,
Of
but
course.
help you kind of like think about what your quiz could be, or your, I call it a quiz, but like a diagnostic tool to help you really bring in higher quality leads and automate the whole process. So that's my free gift. I also have a Facebook group where, we hang out, and, have events and do fun things over there as well. So I'll give you both of those links.
Perfect. Okay, I'll drop them below. Melissa, thank you so much for being here. Do you have one last piece of advice for somebody who's like, I definitely want to run for a 7-figure business. I still want to have time for my life and my kids. What's your best?
Yeah. So it's kind of like, hindsight being 2020, but the queen eats first. Okay. So, or king if you're a guy. But this changed my life. Was to I was always, everyone else comes first, I come last in my business. And when I had a mentor that really helped me flip that mindset, it's like the queen eats first. So make sure that you're getting what you need before everyone else in your business, because you can't help others if you're not helping yourself. Like, if you're not taken care of, you can't. So, and the queen eats first, and then she can feed everyone else, right? So try to remember that. And I'm not talking about, you know I don't know, self-care is a whole thing, but like a little bit of the, like, your mental health, your paycheck. Pay yourself. Even if, like, it runs down your bank account, your business, pay yourself, because that way you don't have to stress about your bills. Like, take care of you first. Queen
Okay, I
eats
love that.
first.
The queen eats first. You're the queen bee. Okay, thanks so much, Melissa. I'll drop those links for anybody who wants to go, and definitely put a front end quiz or diagnostic tool and also her Facebook group below. Cheers. Thanks, Melissa.